At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
The True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another True Crime Society podcast episode. I don't know why I'm struggling. I got distracted.
I've done it hundreds of times by now.
I know. And then, like, sometimes I get, like, performance anxiety, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. What am I doing? So yeah, welcome back to another True Crime Society episode. It's Stephanie and Olivia. It's May 22nd, 2025, 7:30 p.m. Very cold here in New York, and it's raining here, but it's not raining as much as it is raining in Australia right now.
Yeah, it actually has stopped, thankfully, because I was wondering how we were going to record this morning with the rain. Sounded like a waterfall, basically. But yeah, the weather has been wild. There's some crazy East Coast low, which I think I actually mentioned in one of our other episodes, because we had one just a few weeks ago, and they're usually pretty rare. Like, I think we had one in 2021. But in the last few weeks, we've had two. And this week's one has been horrible. Like, I think 50,000 people have been displaced. 10,000 homes were at risk. I've seen so many people a little bit further north than where I live, but they've lost their whole house. You know, houses, everything's been destroyed. Last night, water started coming into our garage, which thankfully we caught it and we managed to get out everything that we needed to get out. But it's just so many horrific things happening just because the volume of rain is absolutely insane. Our neighbor, we're kind of on a hill, so our neighbor who's across the road and down, his whole yard is now a river. That's horrible. So hopefully the rain stops. I was just saying it's so random because then tomorrow it's meant to be hot and sunny, which it's May, so it's nearly the end of autumn here, and it's going to be hot and sunny after all this rain. So who even knows what's going on anymore? I've given up trying to.
Yeah, hopefully it dries it out a little.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, it's been wild times. Like I was just saying, all my friends have been chatting this morning about how the roads are just stopped. A lot of the schools have shut for today. So there's a lot going on. It's pretty chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah, the weather's weird here too, but definitely not as treacherous. As for me, still pregnant, still trucking along, over it as usual. I've been over it the whole time. Like, I don't know. I'm not one of those people where I'm like, pregnancy's so magical. I love it so much. Like, I'm surviving. I feel okay.
Surviving,
I never
not
feel
thriving.
great. Yeah, I don't know. And one of the worst parts about it is not to be like a Debbie Downer, but for me, as someone with social anxiety, it's like just gives a reason for anyone and everyone to fucking make small talk with you. And I'm so sick of it. Like, I know people are just trying to be nice and make conversation, but I'm so sick of the, so how you feeling? How's baby? And I'm like, I don't even like you. Why are you talking to me, coworkers?
I feel like too, a lot of the times pregnant, like I don't think I ever had this happen, but I've always heard stories about people who feel like it's okay to touch you because you're pregnant. Like they'll come and touch your belly.
Yeah, I haven't had that, thank God.
No, like I can't even imagine, I don't know.
I'd slap them. I'd slap their hand.
Yeah, I like just things like that. People just think it gives them free reign to, I don't know. It's weird sometimes.
Yeah, I know it's like a common thing that people say, and it's also just like the unsolicited advice, and I know people are just trying to be nice, but sometimes I'm like, I just don't fucking care. I don't care. Not from people who like message me, obviously, like I do appreciate some of it, but it's more so from like just people I'm not trying to just be like people I see semi-regularly, like I just don't feel like talking to. And then you just get all this unsolicited advice, like, oh, well, when I was my wife, it was the most horrible, traumatic, horrific birth ever. And it's a lot of times it's men too. Like men love to tell you about like their birth
experience.
Yeah. Or just people who had kids like 8,000 years ago, and like times are different. I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to sound like a negative hater, but it's just after a while it's exhausting.
It doesn't, what I was going to say is it doesn't stop either. Once you have the baby, everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to comment on your baby or touch the baby, or, even if you're out like walking with it in the pram or the buggy or whatever everyone calls it. Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, just like, especially people who are older. There's just new rules and research and things now, like a lot of the newer sleep things, or like how the baby's supposed to be alone on their back in the crib, that's it. And then you get like people who are older being like, well, my kids, they always had a blanket, they always had this, they had stuffed animals
And
in
my
their
kids
crib, and
survived.
they turned out fine. And I'm like, okay, well that's great. I'm gonna follow the rules they're telling me now, though. It's just like, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I found like when I was like newly a mother, I would think I could give advice to people, and now like I look back and I cringe. I'm like, just because what works for me wouldn't always work for everyone else. So now I like, if someone asks for my opinion, I will offer an opinion, but like I would never tell someone what to do. Like, you should do this. This is what you should be doing with your baby. If someone asks, I'll say this, I did this and it worked, or it didn't work, or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting time.
Yeah, like it's one thing when it's like friends and family and people you're close to, but when it's like kind of just like in a small talk situation, it's like weird. Especially me, because I just like, I don't thrive in a small talk situation. I get uncomfortable easily. I don't really like sharing a lot about my personal life, coming from me who has a podcast talking about my personal life, with just like people I'm not close with. So it's just like a big, the stomach is just an invite for small talk, and I hate it. But yeah, I'm 20, almost 27 weeks right now, so we're on the way.
Nearly at the end. Well,
Yeah.
not the end, but the last stretch.
Yeah, nearly in the last third of it.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to do the Creche update quickly?
Yeah, speaking of babies, we have a creche update.
So it's kind of funny because sometimes like when like you and I will discuss amongst ourselves, we're like, I bet people are going to comment on this part of the episode. I did not think anyone would be commenting about the Creche in the Jason Corbett episode.
And I only left in like the part of me being like, what the hell is this? Because I thought it was kind of funny.
I would say we've had, like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but I would say I've seen at least 5 messages about the Creche, which I found so interesting because I'm like, this is just a random part of the story. So the first thing is we did get wrong what a Creche is in Ireland. It is just like a daycare. I thought it might be like a drop-in one where you can drop them for a few hours. Apparently it's in Ireland. It is just a daycare center type scenario where your child is enrolled or, will go regularly. Just another word. That's how they use it there. The other thing that we had is someone messaged and said that we pronounced it incorrectly, and it's actually pronounced, what is it? Creche.
Creche, like fresh.
So I understand that. I have heard it pronounced like that. In Australia, I will double down on this because like sometimes we get it wrong, but in Australia we do say creche. I know it's probably not correct to most people, but that is how we do say it here. I feel like it's just a regional dialect
just different
type scenario. Yeah, like so we do say creche. Australians do have a bit of a bogan accent sometimes. Like I know it's probably not the right way to say it for the rest of the world, but that is how we say it here. People might come at me and say, no, I don't, I live in Australia, I say it the other way. But everyone I know says creche. It's like, tomato, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes things like even like Megan, we say Megan here, you guys say Megan. It's just one of those things where it's a little bit different whether or not it's right. I suspect it should be creche, but here we do say creche.
We say Adidas, you say Adidas.
Yeah, I say Nike, like Nike. Even like we say Hyundai, you guys say Hyundai. I know, it's just like different.
We say H and you say H.
Well, then there's a H in Creche, so maybe that's where all the issues come from.
Oh, maybe.
Anyway, so yeah, I appreciate learning what a creche is in Ireland. I just wanted to also clarify
Let's all
that.
settle down now.
Yeah, I just thought it was such an interesting thing that people picked up on. And like, don't get me wrong, we love when people say, hey guys, it's actually pronounced this way or this way, but I just wanted to clarify why I said it that way in the episode.
Yeah, it was just funny and unexpected.
Multiple
everyone
times.
was nice about it.
Yeah, everyone was lovely. I just thought it was such an interesting thing that people picked up on.
Yeah.
So just want to clarify. The other thing too, before we get into it, is we did have a listener of the week again, which Nelly forgot. This is Carrie. I hope I'm saying her name right. I won't spell it in case she doesn't want it, but this is another one that you could say a few different ways. But we've had lots of messages from her, so hopefully she'll know who we are meaning when we talk about this. But she said, just wanted to let you guys know that there are a few things I look forward to as much as the day your podcast episode comes out. It's always such a joy to hear your voices and the updates on your life. It truly does feel like we are friends, which may be parasocial, but oh well. Thank you for dedicating so much of your valuable time and energy to this. So a lovely, nice, kind message. Thank you.
Yay, thank you. Love it. Love the nice messages, as we say.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciated for when I'm feeling like a stupid idiot for not knowing what a creche is.
I keep thinking of things to talk about, and I know some people.
I know,
hate
we're
the
like,
chat.
we got to keep it short, but here we are.
So I think in a recent episode we mentioned how on Spotify we could only respond once to comments. We couldn't go back and forth. They seem to have changed that now, and apparently we can go back and forth. But someone did leave us a mean timestamp comment the other day, and I wrote back saying, "Hey, just letting you a mean chat comment." So like something along the lines of, "You guys need to shut up. You talk too much." And I just wrote back saying, like, I'm paraphrasing because this is basically what I respond to anyone who says that. And I said, look, we've got in the show notes, the very first thing is a timestamp. You can click it. It will take you straight there. And I got a notification today, I think, that one of our listeners also commented, that person wrote, you can just check the timestamp, So it was very...
So now you can all argue with each other in the comments, which we love.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to go for Spotify. If that will be something that will keep, or if they will end up reverting back to just one comment only. Who knows?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to respond and have other people respond on our behalf as well. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So if you see anyone being mean to us in the comments, feel free to jump in.
Feel free to fight with them. We encourage it, please. Okay, so we do have an update on a case that we previously covered as well, the case of missing American woman Patty Wu-Murad. She, if you don't remember, went solo hiking in Japan in 2023. She was never seen again. She liked hiking, was experienced at hiking. We did another little update after some of her belongings were found in 2024. And then recently in April 2025, turns out that some of her remains were found. So in a Facebook post, the family said on Friday, May 9th, 2025, our family received confirmation that our beloved wife, mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and friend Patty Wu-Murad is deceased. They also revealed that a member of a U.S. search and rescue team who was in Japan retraced the area near where her backpack and belongings had been found. On April 27th, they said during his hike, he discovered several of Patty's personal items and what appeared to be a femur. He delivered the remains to local Japanese police, who confirmed they were human. Authorities tested the DNA and compared it to Patty's daughter's DNA, and they confirmed that they were a match on May 9th. The family also said, although we had tried to prepare ourselves for this outcome, the finality of this news is heartbreaking. It offers a measure of closure, but many questions remain unanswered, including the exact circumstances and cause of Patty's death. So we still don't know anything. We don't know if there was foul play or if it was a misadventure. No idea what happened.
And even for them, like I've just seen them mention specifically the femur, so I don't know if they've found any other remains of Patty's, but I'm assuming just by that alone, they probably won't be able to tell what happened to her, I guess, unless there's a break or something, which may indicate that she was incapacitated and kind of maybe died from the elements. But yeah, it sounds like they don't have any real answers, whether or not they will ever. Like, I'm assuming things have moved around. Like, obviously, if that's all they've found, probably animal activity or scavenger activity, those type of things. It would be hard to never, even though now at least they have an answer as to the final part of what happened to Patty, they just don't know how and why it happened to her.
Yeah, it's just sad and crazy because it really does almost seem like she vanished into thin air. Like, yeah, they found a couple of her things, but there's just nothing pointing to any answers, it seems like.
I do personally feel it was probably an accident. I don't know if she fell and passed away, or if
that's what it seems kind of like.
If
it's just crazy they couldn't find her.
Yeah, especially and I know we in the episode we spoke about the search and about how it was very hard because obviously it's in Japan. There's the language barrier, the location. Just trying to get things done, it would have been hard. But yeah, it seems like there was a relatively thorough search done. even though it took a while to get it going, there was a search done, but they just still couldn't find her.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye out if there is any other updates. We will let everyone know either on Instagram or we'll talk about it on here.
I was just thinking it is kind of interesting because that was a vacation nightmare, and now we are also doing a vacation nightmare.
Oh, vacation nightmare update. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a vacation nightmare case. We had some people requesting we do another one of those, which is a category I've always found very interesting, which we've talked about in the past because it seems like people let their guard down on vacation more so, get a little crazier. So sometimes crimes can happen, sadly, on what's supposed to be a very fun and exciting time in your life. So we're going to talk about today British tourist Grace Millane, who was 21 when she was murdered on December 1st in 2018, which was the day before her birthday, by a man that she met on Tinder while she was on vacation. And this guy, just typical stupid behavior, stupid Google searches.
Reminds me a lot of the Gable Tosti case, which I don't think we've ever done an episode on. Like, just an arrogant piece of shit, essentially.
Yeah, like he's just looking to get laid, doesn't care what he does in the process.
Yeah, and one thing just to add too, because I'm kind of preempting. So on the Wikipedia for Grace, which I know is not a reliable source, but it does say her date of death is the 2nd of December, which is her birthday. But the events all happened on the 1st of December. So I feel like that is the most reported date, and it's probably the date she died. But either way, she died on the night of the 1st or early morning of the 2nd of December, just in case you're curious about why you may see some different dates online.
Grace Millane had come to New Zealand as part of a year out backpacking around the world. Her family are tonight devastated by the news that she has been murdered. A week after Grace disappeared in central Auckland, officers have confirmed they have a 26-year-old man in custody and he will be charged with her death.
Sadly, the evidence we have gathered to this point of the inquiry has established that this is a homicide. Grace's family have been advised of this development and they're devastated. The man is still being spoken to at this point. Obviously, this means that we are treating Grace's disappearance as a homicide investigation.
Grace went missing last Saturday, the day before her 22nd birthday. She was travelling after graduating from Lincoln University in September. CCTV footage showed her out last Saturday night with the man who is now being charged with her murder. Her father arrived in the country a few days ago to make a desperate appeal for help in finding her.
Grace is a lovely, outgoing, fun-loving, family-orientated daughter.
The hotel where she was last seen and the hostel where she was staying remain the focus of the investigation to find her body and determine how she was killed. Detectives will resume their search this morning to find Grace and bring her back to her family.
So Grace was born in Essex in England on December 2nd, 1996 to her parents David and Gillian. She also had two brothers named Declan and Michael. Grace graduated from the University of Lincoln with a degree in advertising and marketing, and she decided to take a gap year and go backpacking around the world. After Grace left England, she spent 6 weeks in South America. She visited countries including Patagonia and Peru, and then she left for New Zealand, and she planned to spend 2 weeks there. Grace landed in New Zealand on November 20th, 2018, and she traveled around the North Island. She got to Auckland on November 30th. In terms of what Auckland is like, the population is around 1.5 to 1.7 million, depending on the source you check. The overall crime rate decreased in 2018 with a 2.7 reduction in total victimizations, but the crime rate has increased since 2018. So, is it a crime place or no?
I don't know. Like, I feel like
Or
I don't
average?
want anyone to get angry at me. My husband is from New Zealand, so like I am relatively familiar with the area. I feel like I wouldn't say it's like, don't get me wrong, it's not a super crime-ridden place. I feel like there has been an increase in crime, like gang-related crimes and those type of things. Like, absolutely, I would say, like, I would personally categorize it as a safe place. I would quite happily go there and walk around Auckland City at night. I'm sure there's unsafe areas.
It's kind of like most bigger cities.
Yeah, exactly. And it is like one of the biggest cities in New Zealand. So obviously there's going to be crime. Like I feel like it's probably just mid-range in terms, like I wouldn't be worried about going there. It's generally a very safe place. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2015, Auckland ranked third in a survey of the quality of life of 215 major cities of the world. So it seems pretty good.
Yeah. I've been to New Zealand multiple times. It is a very nice place. Obviously, generally, there are some probably not so nice places like there are in every country in the world. But yeah, it's a very small country, very small population. So when something like this happens, it really does rock the whole country.
Yeah. During her travels, Grace sent her family photos and messages about all the adventures that she was having. Her father said, "We heard from Grace virtually every day. She enjoyed sharing her adventures with us." When Grace arrived in Auckland, she checked into the base backpackers hostel. She was staying in a 4-bedroom dorm with 3 other people. The hostel has since permanently closed, but this is a description of it from Google. It says, basic dorms, private rooms in a low-key city center hostel with a game room and 2 bars. It had a 3.6 out of 5 rating on Google reviews. This is one review. It says, I stayed here a few years ago and it was great. However, I was in Auckland and needed a place to stay a few days ago, and I thought I would go back to the base. It was so run down, the dorm room was awful, and the room had so much rubbish in there. Also, the hairdryer in the showers lasted 30 seconds before it burnt out. Everything smelled damp. Also, a few days later, I started getting lots of little red dots on me, and it became clear they were bedbug bites. I literally have them everywhere. It's awful. I would normally never write a bad review, but I would not like to put people through what I have been through with these bites. Do not stay there.
Yeah.
So, seems like why they closed.
When I was Grace's age, I did a lot of travel too. Like I feel like it's a big kind of thing amongst British, Australian, New Zealand people to kind of go and travel for a long time. And I've stayed in many places like this before. Some of them are fine and clean and great, and then some of them are gross. Like a 3.6 rating isn't horrible, but it doesn't sound like,
I'm sure it used to be better.
Yeah, but also too, when you're on a budget, you kind of take what you can get. It was in the city.
Yeah.
It was probably relatively safe. So yeah, it just seems like it was a standard run-of-the-mill hostel. Not particularly great, but there are definitely worse places she could have stayed.
Yeah. So it's believed that Grace matched with her killer on Tinder on November 30th. And his name is Jesse Kempson. So Jesse was born on December 28th, 1991, making him 26 at the time that he met Grace. He was born in Lower Hutt in New Zealand and grew up in Wellington. According to a New Zealand media outlet called Stuff, Jesse's parents split up when he was young, and he lived with his grandparents for a period of time. Jesse's mother moved to Australia, and he went with her for a short time. By 2011, he was back in New Zealand and living at a boarding house in Wellington. People who knew Jesse have come forward and said that he told a lot of lies. A former landlord of his said that he claimed to be a professional softball player, freshly signed up by New Zealand's national softball team, the Black Sox. This is a quote from the landlord. He'd say, "Oh, yeah, my contract money is coming. My payments will come then." But, of course, that money never materialized. After about 8 weeks of excuses, the landlord said he got in touch with Black Sox management, who said that they'd never even heard of the guy. Jesse left the property shortly after, leaving the landlord more than $700 out of pocket. His landlord said, "He was a very convincing liar. I thought I could read people, but I badly misjudged him." Jesse went back to Australia after this. He worked random jobs as a bartender, builder, and a laborer. He did have some convictions for drunk driving, and he was arrested multiple times for alcohol-related disorderly conduct. Jesse told other lies, including that he had a bachelor's degree in international law and that his family were millionaires. He claimed his family owned multiple restaurants in Sydney and that they were looking to buy a restaurant in Auckland.
And just to kind of interject, since this has all happened, other people, and especially women who have known him, have come out and they've basically corroborated that he was a compulsive liar. He would just tell all lies like there was another woman I think who he lived with, and she ended up being out thousands of dollars. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Ryan Roth, who we did an episode on, where he's like a scammer. Like he would tell people lies to get what he wanted. He was very manipulative, it sounds like.
Like the worst kind of person.
Yeah.
So back to Grace and Jesse. As we mentioned, they matched around November 30th on Tinder. So that same day, Grace had been communicating with another man via Facebook, and she met up with that man on November 30th, and they watched a movie and spent the night together. Then December 1st, Jesse saw that he matched with Grace on Tinder, and he sent her a message. They began chatting via the app, and he asked what her plans were for the day, and Grace said that she was free. Jesse asked if she wanted to meet for drinks at Sky City. Sky City, Auckland is an entertainment complex and casino in the heart of the CBD. The complex includes the Sky City Theater with an auditorium with 700 seats, many bars and restaurants, and 3 hotels. So seems like a lot to do there.
Yeah, it's like a very well-known, I guess, landmark, because it is literally a massively tall tower that kind of sticks out of the skyline. So yeah, we have one in Sydney called the Centrepoint Tower. It's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like there's one in Seattle, you know, like what I'm talking about. They're kind of like really distinctive looking buildings that you can tell what it is.
Mm-hmm. Grace agreed to meet Jesse there. She left the base backpackers hostel at 5:37 p.m. on foot, and she arrived at Sky City at 5:45. She took a photo of a Christmas tree there and sent it to her family, and this would end up being the last message she would send them. Jesse showed up, and they greeted each other with a hug before heading into the complex to Andy's Burger Bar. They ordered drinks and chatted together. At 7:14 p.m., they left Sky City and went to a Mexican place across the road where Grace ordered sangria with mint.
And just to kind of interject again, I feel like I'm doing that a lot this episode. There's a bunch of CCTV, a bunch of images. Like there's no dispute about this timeline. They're in the middle of the city, so these images are all online. Like everything is backed up. There's no doubt that this is the timeline of that night.
Yeah, like they were pretty much tracked the entire night.
Yeah.
The two seemed to be getting along well. Grace was seen touching the small of Jesse's back. She messaged a friend throughout the evening named Amina, and she told her, "I'm on a date with a guy who is a manager of an oil company." Seems like another lie. Grace also messaged her friend, "Cocktails all around." He was like, "It's my birthday tomorrow. We are getting smashed." And her last message said, "I click with him so well. I will let you know what happens tomorrow." So at 8:27 p.m., Jesse paid the tab. They consumed 3 jugs, 2 of margaritas and 1 of sangria. Their hostess said that Grace was happy when they left the venue. At 8:30 p.m., they went to the Bluestone Room pub. This venue has closed down since then, but it was described as booze, bar food, quiz nights, and a lively old-fashioned locale with exposed stonework and wood beams. They sat together at a small table, and the pub was very busy. They could be seen chatting, laughing, and kissing. At 9:01, Jesse brought tequila shots to the table, and they clinked their glasses together before drinking. At 9:20, Grace went to the bathroom. She left her handbag, and Jesse could be seen rummaging through it, but he put it back on her seat. And after this, they left the pub. I wonder what he was rummaging for. At 9:29, Jesse commented on Grace's Facebook profile pic. Beautiful, very radiant. So weird. At 9:40 p.m., they arrived at City Life Auckland, which is a serviced apartment hotel complex. This is where Jesse was living and staying at the time. His arm was around Grace's shoulder, and she was holding his hand. They got into the lift and got out on the 3rd floor. They walked down the hallway, and this would be the last time that Grace was seen alive. So Grace's parents became concerned when she didn't reply to their birthday messages that they sent on December 2nd. She was reported missing by her parents 3 days later. Base backpackers, the hostel, confirmed that Grace did not return to her room after December 1st. So we'll now run through some info that we learned later into the case, but we're still going to go through kind of how the events happened chronologically, just because that's the way it's going to make the most sense. So this stuff wasn't found out till later during the trial and stuff, but we're going to go through it in the order it happened.
now that we know it, we know the complete story. So rather than kind of jumping ahead and going back, we can tell the story as a complete chronological event. So after looking into his phone history, it was determined that at 1:29 a.m. on the 2nd of December, Jesse searched for Waitakere Ranges in Google Maps. The prosecution would allege later that he was, quote, trying to figure out a way of disposing her body. At 1:31 a.m., Jesse searched hottest fire. Again, this is because he was probably trying to figure out how to get rid of Grace's body. I just can't believe the audacity of this guy. So ridiculous.
I just like can't imagine, like, you just murdered someone and now you're like, oh, let me just Google what to do about this.
Yeah, let me just Google. No one's ever going to find out. It just shows the arrogance. We've spoken about this so many times.
That's true.
But yeah, this happens a lot. Like Brian Walsh, Anna Walsh's husband, all of them.
He was the worst offender, I think.
They make these ridiculous Google searches and just think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I could clear my history.
Yeah, no one will ever know.
Yeah.
So that was 1:31 a.m. After that, Jesse then accessed pornography online and he watched videos.
Well, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Between 1:45 a.m. and 1:49 a.m., he took photos of Grace's naked body. I have seen people theorize this was kind of like a trophy photo, that he was like, look what I've done. Like that was the reason why he took photos.
Gross.
At 6 a.m., he searched for rigor. So he took those photos. I'm assuming he probably went to sleep for a few hours. At 6 a.m., he searched for rigor mortis, extra large bags, and carpet cleaner. There's a photo of the bedroom.
Not to go back to the Google search again, but why are you searching extra large bags and carpet cleaner? You know where to get extra large bags and carpet cleaner. Just go to the store. Why are you Googling it?
So there is a photo. I've put all these photos on the blog if you want to see more about the scene, the CCTV. There is a photo of the bedroom. It just looks like kind of a bit messy.
An average crappy hotel room.
Yeah, it just looks pretty shitty. I think it's like an iron on the table. Yeah, just like there's nothing particularly disheveled. Like, well, it is disheveled, but there's nothing particularly sinister looking in the bedroom at that stage.
Yeah.
At 7:51 a.m., Jesse messaged another woman that he'd been communicating with on Tinder to check that the date was still scheduled for later that day. Just crazy. At 8 a.m., Jesse left city life and walked to a store where he purchased a large grey suitcase. Again, this is all on CCTV. You can see him wheeling like it's a bag with wheels, so he's wheeling that as he walks away. At 8:14 a.m., Jesse got back to the hotel room. He left the hotel room at 8:35 a.m. and he walked to a supermarket. He purchased gloves and cleaning products as well as gum. He then went back to his room. There's photos of him in the lift with all this stuff. At 10:33 a.m., Jesse left the hotel and got in a cab. He could be seen smiling and using his phone while in the back seat. At 10:42 a.m., Jesse arrived at a car rental facility. He rented a car for 24 hours and paid using his credit card. At some point during that afternoon, he searched for flesh-eating birds and are there vultures in New Zealand?
So weird and random. Like, I get why he's searching it, but like, who even thinks of that?
Yeah. At 2:53 p.m., Jesse left the hotel and went to meet his Tinder date. The woman would later tell police that Jesse told her a story about a man who killed a woman during rough sex and was later convicted of manslaughter. He apparently said to this woman, "It's crazy how guys can make one wrong move and go to jail for the rest of their life."
Oh, wrong move like murder?
Yeah. So thankfully for this other woman, Jesse left the bar at 5:25. I guess he had other things to attend to, but their date went for a few hours and then ended, which I can't even imagine the relief she must feel knowing now what happened.
Imagine being that woman, like, how horrifying.
He was seen again on CCTV at 7:30 p.m. that night, parking the rental car near a supermarket, and he was also looking at carpet cleaning equipment. I don't know if it's the same there, but here at some stores, like hardware stores, you can rent a carpet cleaner.
Yeah, you can
so
here too.
They call it, I think the actual brand that he used was the Rug Doctor. So it's the same type of thing where you rent it for like a day and you go and clean your carpet, then you take it back.
Yeah, you could do that here too.
He ended up renting a carpet cleaner at 8:11 p.m. and he returned it to the store 1 hour later. At 9:26 p.m., Jesse could be seen getting a luggage trolley from the hotel lobby and he took it up to his room. He left again with 2 suitcases, one of which likely contained Grace's body. He put both bags in the rental car and he parked it at a parking station. He then went to a supermarket where he purchased gloves and stain remover. So that was 9:26 p.m. At 6:14 the next day, which is now December 3rd, Jesse went back to the rental car and drove to the Waitakere Ranges. I hope I'm saying that right. I asked my husband and he told me that's how you say it. So fingers crossed I got it right. He stopped at the store at a store at 6:50 a.m. and he purchased a shovel and some bolts. He then drove to Scenic Drive and buried Grace in a shallow grave, which he loosely covered with branches. He was back at the hotel by 9:30 a.m. and he went into the hotel barefoot. At 9:58 a.m., he dropped clothes off at a dry cleaning store before he went to another store where he purchased yet another suitcase. He then took the rental car to a car wash where he cleaned the vehicle and also cleaned his shoes. He left the red shovel that he'd purchased leaning up against the wall in the car wash bay.
He's doing like every shady move you could do.
I just the audacity. I know I've said it, but just to think that he could do all of this in the middle of one of the biggest cities in New Zealand and for there to be no trace, he just really didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
At 4:50 p.m., Jesse took Grace's belongings to a public park and put the belongings in a bin there, again, caught on CCTV. So we're now at the 6th of December 2018. Jesse left the hotel and got in an Uber to Mission Bay. He was seen carrying a bag and he returned at around 6 a.m. It's not really known or hasn't been confirmed why he took this trip, but it is speculated that he took it to get rid of Grace's cell phone. So he went to the area, dumped it somewhere, and her phone has never been found. So that is kind of what is speculated to have been the reason for that.
Mm.
By this point, Grace's father had flown to Auckland to help search for his daughter. Jesse was taken to Auckland Central Police Station that day to be questioned. He was initially found and contacted by police because of the Facebook comment that he'd left on Grace's profile on the day that she vanished, which was such a rookie error. Like I feel like the main reason that they were able to track him down so quickly was because he left a comment on the last night that she was seen on her profile pic.
And such like a random stupid thing to do. Like you're literally with her on a date. Why are you commenting on her profile picture?
Yeah.
Feels almost like possessive in a way. Like you want people to know like he existed in her life.
So Jesse originally told detectives that he and Grace went their separate ways after they left Sky City. He would later tell them, though, that he did admit he had been with her later that night. He was asked to provide DNA and he said, yep, 100%, I haven't done anything wrong. So this is the story that Jesse originally told police about what happened that night. Jesse would say, obviously we don't really know what happened in the apartment. This is what Jesse said. He said, we were kissing, we were talking and kissing more. There was a music channel playing on the TV in the background and at one point Grace asked him to turn it off. Jesse said that she then began to talk about 50 Shades of Grey. He said, she told me there's a few things she likes doing and that she's done with her ex-partner. We started having sex. At first it was just normal. It was very placid. Jesse said that Grace then brought up the topic of bondage. He said, and she started biting and she asked me to bite her, so I did. He said, I stopped at first and said, is this something you really want to do? He said that Grace replied, we're in the moment, let's just go with it. He said the pair then talked for a while before they had sex again. He said, holding my arms above my head and then just biting, and then she hit my butt and then she held me around my neck and pushed down. And we just started having more, I guess, violent sex. He said that they ended up on the floor and stopped to take intimate photos of each other. And he said, and then she told me to hold her throat and go harder. He said afterwards he went to the bathroom and fell asleep in the shower. He woke up later and he went to bed and he thought Grace had just left. Jesse asked detectives, I just want to ask a question. Have I been arrested for something I didn't do? And he was told by police, we've reached a point where we need to advise you of your rights. So his story to police was they had rough sex, he passed out, and then he just assumed Grace had left the room and gone back to her own place. There was a public appeal for information regarding Grace's whereabouts. Her father said, Grace is a lovely, outgoing, fun-loving, family-oriented daughter. She has never been out of contact for this amount of time and is usually in daily contact with either her mother, myself, or her two brothers. We are all extremely upset and it is very difficult at this time to fully describe the range of emotions we are all going through. So Jesse initially lied to police. Obviously, this was pre them determining the actual timeline based on their investigation. He did say that he woke up, so he did change his story and he would say that he woke up on December 2nd and saw Grace laying on the floor with blood on her face. He said, I screamed, I yelled out at her, I tried to move her to see if she was awake. He told police that he then tried to kill himself at around 8 a.m. on the 2nd of December. He said, I was at the point where I just wanted to end my own life. I'd had enough and I was finished. He did admit that he tried to put Grace's body in the suitcase he had purchased. He said, I was just in shock the whole time. I couldn't put her in. It just didn't seem right. So I left, and Grace was half in, half out of the suitcase at that stage. I couldn't do it.
I love how he's just trying to make himself seem also like a victim now in some ways, being like, I tried to kill myself. I just couldn't put her in the suitcase. Like, shut up. You were literally watching porn after you killed her and setting up a second date.
And Googling.
On Tinder.
I know the vulture thing was later, but Googling rigor mortis and carpet cleaning and all that.
Yeah, so shut up.
On the 8th of December 2018, police announced that they were investigating Grace's case as a homicide. And that same day, Jesse was taken into custody at 3 p.m. That day, Jesse admitted to police that Grace was dead. He told them his version of the events of the night that she died, and he also revealed where he had buried her. Grace's body was found the following day, the 9th of December 2018 at around 4 p.m. She was off the scenic highway in the Waitakere Ranges, which is around 19 kilometres or 12 miles west of central Auckland. An autopsy was carried out on December 10th, and it was determined that Grace had died from pressure to the neck. As I mentioned, this really rocked the whole country. The Prime Minister at the time was Jacinda Ardern, and she made a public apology to Grace's family on the 10th of December, saying, on behalf of New Zealand, I want to apologise. Your daughter should have been safe here and she wasn't, which shows you kind of the impact that this case had for the country's leader to make a statement about a murder is very unusual, and this was such a horrific case that everyone gripped the nation essentially.
Mm-hmm.
On the 12th of December 2018, a vigil was held for Grace and other victims of violence. Grace's father, David, made a statement. It is very long, so I'll just summarise it all. It's all on the blog if you want to read it all. But he said, Grace went off to travel the world in mid-October and arrived in New Zealand on the 20th of November. By the amount of pictures and messages we received, she clearly loved this country, its people, and its lifestyle. After the disappearance of Grace, our whole world turned upside down. And he goes on to speak about how the Auckland police carried out a concise, stringent and thorough investigation. They worked long hours without a day off, little sleep or rest. He goes into the family thanking everyone who's helped them. And he finishes by saying, we all hope that what has happened to Grace will not deter even one person from venturing out in the world and discovering their own overseas adventure. We would like to thank the people of New Zealand for the outpouring of love, numerous messages, tributes, and compassion. Grace was not born here and only managed to stay here for a few weeks, but you have taken her to your hearts, and in some small way she will forever be a Kiwi. So that's very gracious of him to thank. Obviously, this was just one bad apple in a country of great people, and he was so kind and compassionate to acknowledge that in what was the worst time of his life.
Yeah.
So Jesse first appeared in court on the 10th of December 2018. His identity was suppressed at the time, which caused a lot of controversy. So that happens here a lot too. They will often blur out faces, not reveal names. It's obviously innocent until proven guilty, and it's kind of to stop. They do it for different reasons. It does often make people very angry.
I get why they do it, but I hate it.
Yeah. So he was initially denied the suppression. So his attorney or his defense asked for his identity to be suppressed. It was initially denied, but because of that, they appealed it, and that meant that he was automatically given suppression for 20 days. So you may see some very early articles on where his face and his name are blurred out. They just call him the suspect, or they don't name him in the early days of this case. However, despite this suppression issue, the name suppression was unable to be enforced against media outlets outside New Zealand. So everyone knew who he was anyway. It just seems like it was so ridiculous. Like British media agencies were naming him. It was only New Zealand media that couldn't name him.
Mm-hmm.
He was kept in custody, and he appeared in the Auckland High Court on 16th of January 2019, and he pled not guilty. Again, his identity was still suppressed. His trial began on the 4th of November 2019, so just under a year after the murder. He reaffirmed his not guilty plea, and the trial was expected to run for 5 weeks. During proceedings, other women who had met Jesse through Tinder testified. They said that he liked masochistic and bondage sex, including choking. They also went through the timeline that we have run through regarding what happened in the night and what the lead up to Grace's death. The trial ended up only lasting for 3 weeks, even though it was expected to run for 5. The jury, which was The jury, which was made up of 7 women and 5 men, found Jesse guilty on the 22nd of November 2019 after 5 hours of deliberation. In New Zealand, murder carries a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period of 10 years, except when a sentence would be manifestly unjust in the event of, say, a mercy killing or something along those lines. Judges do have the discretion to order a longer non-parole period. On the 21st of February 2020, Jesse was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years. So that means in 2037 he could get parole. I suspect he probably won't, but at least he did get
Hopefully
the longer
not.
non-parole period.
Yeah.
At his sentencing for Grace's murder, the Justice Simon Moore said a report on Jesse's childhood showed he had been, quote, affected by various traumatic influences. I accept that you had a volatile upbringing and that may well have influenced the person you are today. On the 18th of March 2020, it was reported that Jesse had plans to appeal his conviction. He appealed to the Court of Appeal, a lot of appeals in that sentence, but he appealed to the Court of Appeal in August 2020, and by December 18th that year, the Court of Appeal dismissed the appeal, although the Supreme Court ordered that the name suppression should remain in place until a further court order. And that same day, it was revealed that the taxpayers in New Zealand had paid more than $400,000 in legal fees for him because obviously he couldn't afford his own attorney, so he had a public defender, and it had cost the taxpayers nearly $500,000.
What if I told you that right now, millions of people are living with a debilitating condition that's so misunderstood, many of them don't even know that they have it? That condition is obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. I'm Dr. Patrick McGrath, the Chief Clinical Officer of NoCD. And in the 25 years I've been treating OCD, I've met so many people who were suffering from the condition in silence, unaware of just what it was. OCD can create overwhelming anxiety and fear around what you value most, make you question your identity, beliefs, and morals, and drive you to perform mentally and physically draining compulsions or rituals. Over my career, I've seen just how devastating OCD can be when it's left untreated. But help is available. That's where NoCD comes in. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for obsessive compulsive disorder. Our licensed therapists are trained in exposure and response prevention therapy, a specialized treatment proven to be incredibly effective for OCD. So visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call with our team. That's nocd.com.
Sadly, in December 2020, Grace's father, David, passed away after a battle with cancer. Jesse ended up being formally identified and the suppression order was lifted in December 2020, which was 2 years after he had murdered Grace. It was also disclosed at the time that he had been convicted of 9 total charges of rape, sexual violation, threatening to kill, and assault in 2 sexual violence trials that went before a judge in October and November 2020. They were all separate to Grace's case. So
separate people?
Yeah, separate people. So not related to Grace's case, to separate women.
And that's what's gross, is that it makes you think that everything he said about them having like 50 Shades of Grey sex was totally a lie, and I bet that she was just raped.
So on the 29th of June 2021, the Supreme Court dismissed Jesse's appeal, and that meant that basically he has no further options to quash his conviction. He will have to serve out the minimum sentence and then apply for parole when he's able to. There are no other methods of appeal that he can use, which is great. When we said we were covering this case, I actually got a few messages about this, and this is, I guess, one silver lining to come out of this case is that Grace's mother, Gillian, and her cousin Hannah founded a charity in Grace's name. It's called Love Grace, and the charity aims to help women affected by domestic violence. They ask for donations of handbags, and they fill the bags with things that women need to leave, like shampoo. It sounds quite basic, but they are essential, like, necessities that people need.
Yeah, stuff like that's a huge help, because especially when you're in a domestic violence situation, you're not thinking like, oh, I need to buy shampoo, but you need that stuff.
Even things like sanitary items, feminine hygiene products, all those type of things. So they have started this charity in Grace's honor, and as of 2023, they had donated over 15,000 bags across the world. So that is an amazing feat. And the message that we got just said, I wanted to let you guys know about this charity, and absolutely, I was reading about it. It's such a amazing way to honor their daughter and their cousin by helping other women who are in very vulnerable situations.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So that is it chronologically for Grace's case. I think the only update may be in coming years, obviously quite a way still, when Jesse does get out, if he gets out. I don't think we will learn anything more. They were very open. The investigators were very open with the media. We know a lot about what led up to her murder. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened in the apartment when they got back there that night. Jesse murdered her, but we don't know if it was during sex. I suspect it probably wasn't. I suspect he was just being an out of control jerk. And I don't think maybe he planned to meet up with her specifically to murder her, but I feel like he probably just was out of control.
I feel like he was like sexually devious, like violent.
Yep.
So I don't know if he necessarily planned to murder her, but like he clearly has some messed up
anger, aggression,
fantasies, you can call them. And I feel like it just probably turned into that, especially since he has other sexual violence cases. I think that's what happened. I don't know if I think he planned to murder her from the jump, but he definitely knew that he was gonna probably have his way with her at least. And
it could have even been something along the lines of she went up and then she realized that he was a creep and she's like, no more, and that angered him, and like we don't know. It could have been something along those lines, but I feel like his whole entire background shows he was manipulative, he was a liar, he was aggressive, arrogant. I don't even know, just all of those words.
Narcissist.
Narcissistic.
Didn't care about anyone else, only cared about himself, only cared about getting himself off, only cared about getting ahead in life, didn't care about paying his landlord, didn't care about other people and what other people needed, just only thought of himself ever.
Even just for him to still go on that Tinder date that he already had planned after Grace was dead in the bedroom, it just shows.
Like, could you imagine he's trying to like figure out how to get rid of this body, and then he's like, oh, let me see if I'm still on for that date later. Let me see how much time I have before my date later to get rid of this body of this poor girl I just murdered.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess the one good thing in this case is that he was obviously not
caught.
He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. He did nothing to cover his tracks. He made it as easy as almost possible for the investigators to track down his whereabouts and to track his movements. So thankfully, Grace's family didn't have to wait too long for something to happen. He was literally arrested within days of her murder. So it could have dragged out for a lot longer if he had have actually tried to cover his tracks and be a tiny bit smart about the whole situation.
Yeah, and just horrible. Like, a girl should be able to go on a date with someone without having to worry that she's risking her life. Like, I listen to a lot of kind of like dating lifestyle type podcasts too, and it's always a joke, like when you go on a first date with someone, like, when you're a girl, don't murder me, like, let's meet in public to make sure you're not a murderer, haha. But like, it happens, and that's what's sad. And even though we all joke about it, we say it as a joke, but we're serious because it's scary out there. You don't want to meet just someone like him. She thought he was just a normal guy, and who you never think that you're actually going to meet a murderer, but it's always in the back of your mind as a woman. And it's the fact that you feel stupid for even worrying about it sometimes, but like, it happens more often than people think, sadly.
Yeah, definitely. And if you'd like to learn more or see some kind of footage and images of the people involved, there is a Netflix documentary on this called The Lie, The Murder of Grace Millane. So I'm assuming it's probably available in the US, but you can watch that. It's got a lot of just to kind of put images to the scenario. It says The Lie, Uncover the Truth. So
yeah. So that is really it for this case. Hope that Jesse rots in jail for the rest of his life and gets beat up by other prisoners and has a horrible time in prison.
Yeah.
Everything for this episode will be on the blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com. If you want to see any of the CCTV stuff and the stills and all that, will be on there. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at True Crime Society. We're always posting updates on there on the latest crimes. We've been posting with Brian Koberger's trial coming up. There's been some new info coming out that we've been posting about, as well as Sherry Papini being a dumb asshole. It's the only way to say it. For a documentary she's got coming out. Just a lot going on. So we're always posting on Instagram, so make sure you're following us there. If you want to follow our personal accounts, mine is StephSum_, Olivia's TCS Olivia. If you want to see what we're up to, and check us out on Patreon, We're on there. We have a great community on there. We have these fun little chats. Like we have a thriving book club chat, thanks to Olivia and her book club. We do all the episodes ad-free. We also do an additional bonus episode every week. So you get 2 episodes a week. You get extra pictures of Peep, and I don't know, we just chat on Patreon more if you are someone who likes to chat. We do more of that there. So check us out over there. And did you want to preview what we're talking about next week? Like, are we doing that going
'cause
forward?
actually,
No.
oh no, I do know. Hold on, let me just look again. I was like, I don't know, but I do know because I've started the notes. Hold on. Oh yes. So we actually, my current plans for next week are probably for Patreon. We will do the disappearance of Elisa Petrov. She's a teenager who went missing from Utah, and the police have said that she was a runaway. She was seen at a transit station asking people for help to get to Las Vegas. So it did seem like just kind of a runaway situation. But in the last few days, 2 men have been charged in relation to her disappearance. They knew that she was 15. They were sending her sexually explicit messages online, wanting to meet up. At the time,
she still hasn't been found, right?
No. Well, obviously it might be different by the time this episode comes out, but as of the time of recording, she's still missing. And for the main episode, I'm currently planning to do the death of Caitlin Tracy. It is, I don't know if maybe it's not a very well-known one. It's kind of, I don't want to say mysterious because it is about the death of a woman, but Caitlin was married to a very abusive man named Adam, and he was a tax attorney, very successful, and basically she was found at the bottom of over 20 floors of a stairwell in his apartment complex. She'd fallen so far that her foot had been severed. And her parents had to, I don't want to give the whole story here, but her parents had to fight for custody of her body, and he has been charged with domestic violence related charges, but he hasn't yet been charged in relation to her murder. So we will go through that one next week, unless there is some big breaking news that we have to cover in the meantime.
Yeah, so we will talk about those next week. And everything else, same as always. If you could share it to your Instagram stories, we love seeing what you guys are doing while you're listening to the podcast. We like to reshare them. And obviously leave us some nice comments on Spotify. Fight with the haters on Spotify, please. We love that. And that's it. Whatever, you guys know what to do.
Yeah.
I can't think anymore. So thank you guys for listening. Stay safe out there. Peace out.
See ya.